Now back to Morningline. Here's Steve Helms.
And welcome back, folks. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday. And the numbers are 862-9977, 1-800-375-0056 if you'd like to ask a question of our guest today. And we are very pleased to have Tyler Hobbs. And you are running for the 132nd, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. And again, thank you for being on air with us. And tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Well, Steve, thanks for having me this morning. I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, and I moved here in high school. I graduated from Republic High School. Right after high school, I decided that I wanted to serve my country. I joined the United States Army, which I've been in for the past 10 years as a civil affairs sergeant here. I deployed in 2008 to Baghdad, Iraq, and had one of the most life-changing experiences you can have, being deployed over to a foreign nation, a war-torn nation. I came back. I also had the opportunity to go to the Republic of Georgia and help some citizens there in 2009. And after that, I decided I wanted to come back and I wanted to get my degree. So I went to Missouri State and graduated from there. Go Bears.
There you go, Bears.
Since then, after I graduated, I realized I had another calling too. I wanted to serve my state, which is why I'm running. I feel a deep service to our state. I've loved Missouri since I've been here. This is now my home. I want to be able to serve the people and to go up to Jefferson City and represent their voice and give them a strong voice up in Jefferson City.
Well, clearly you've are living out a life of service, and so I appreciate your service to the military. And also, you know, this is it's tough to run for office. This is your first race, and so you're probably, you know, some of the misconceptions, you know, when you first start with the race may be different from now that you've been involved in it, and it's not that much further away. I mean, you know, the nice thing about elections are there's an end date.
Definitely. When I first started, I'd worked on other campaigns and helped some other candidates before, so I knew what some of the hard work was, but you don't realize how, like, every second of your day is taken up by a campaign if you let it be. So we're out there walking door to door every night. We're out there talking to voters, going to any events that we can just so we can get a grasp on things. And it's amazing how quickly August 2nd is coming up. It is day by day. It's just approaching so fast.
And what are the issues that you're hearing from the voters and folks as you talk and knock on the doors in the district?
A lot of people in 132nd are really concerned with our economy at this point in time. They want good paying jobs. They want to be able to support their families, and they don't want the government to, you know, step in their way. They want to be able to just live their lives and be happy with their families. And
that's encouraging to hear. The 132nd, for the folks that may not know this, we're all over Southwest Missouri here on KWTO Morningline, and it is the poorest, lowest income district in Springfield, and so it's demographically that's, you know, the challenge, and a lot of folks want to highlight on Medicaid and some of the social aspects, but I think it's encouraging to hear that one of the number one issues you're hearing is the economy.
Absolutely. We're the heart of Springfield here in the 132nd, right in the middle. The people here really just want good paying jobs. They're ready to get back to work. A lot of them already are, and we just need to make sure as a state and as Springfield as a city that we provide them with the opportunity where they can continue to go forward.
And it seems that, you know, and that makes sense. With the economy's down, it's going to hurt those who can least afford it, that are have the lowest paying jobs, are going to be the first ones cut. And they're going to face difficulty in re-entering the marketplace. We're going to take our break, but when we get back, we will ask you what are the ways that you believe we can work to solve some of the economic issues, because Missouri's numbers are horrific. We're in the bottom of the nation. So, folks, if you've got a question for Tyler Hobbs, candidate for the 132nd District, 862-9977, 1-800-375-0056.
Now back to Morningline. Here's Steve Helms.
And welcome back, folks, to Morningline, 862-9977, 1-800-375-0056. If you'd like to ask a question of a candidate, Tyler Hobbs, for the 132nd District. Before we go to the lines, though, Tyler, I would like to ask you, what are your, you know, you say the economy is an issue. What are your solutions or thoughts on how you would impact that issue as state representative?
Okay, so our economy in Missouri right now ranks 47th in economic development and 43rd in job growth. So there's a lot that we can do to start fixing it. I have 4 points, 4 puzzle pieces, I like to call them, that I think we can start with. One of the first that we've tried before, and I think that we can get it done as soon as we get the 2017 session going, is right to work. I think that that's a crucial part that we can pass in our legislature. I also think that we need to start working on lowering the burdensome taxes on businesses around the state. We need to start getting rid of some of these regulations and stop regulating businesses the way that we are, so that the government can get out of the way and the business can expand themselves. And then I think that we also need to work on tort reform and switch to like a loser pay system where we're not having these frivolous lawsuits against small business owners who can't afford them, frankly.
Okay, very good. We're going to go with Doug from Branson. Doug, what's your question for Tyler Hobbs?
Well, I'm curious as to about, his stance on what he thinks he's going to do to increase business and jobs here. And then I have a follow-up I want to ask him.
Well, go ahead and ask your follow-up, and then we'll let him answer those questions.
I wanted to just give him some couple of suggestions here as far as an elected official. What I think that they need to know before they go up there is, number one, they need to know what the definition of private property rights are. And then what the main thing I learned about economics and how things work, are supposed to work, is from a guy by the name of Henry C. Carey, wrote a book called, let's see, what is it? Harmony of Interest. It was published in the 1830s when they were messing around with tariffs. So he did a very long study of the effect of tariff as it has on local commerce, and it's all in a book. You can read it. It tells you exactly how it works, and he's one of the preeminent economists of our time.
Well, we're going to go ahead and let Tyler have that question. And go ahead, Tyler. What do you think about that?
All right, thanks for the question, Doug. So our economy, I kind of just went over a lot of that. I do think that passing right to work in the legislature and the other, the tort reform, lowering taxes, is going to foster a better environment. We're going to be able to bring more businesses into Missouri. Missouri is a great state. We're the I-44 corridor. We have St. Louis and Kansas City and Springfield ourselves as a hub. We should be able to have great manufacturing jobs and great small businesses too. We have so many small businesses here in Springfield that have been able to expand. So I think if we start working on those issues and pass those, that we'll see our economy kind of turn around and we can get back to the top of our country as far as rankings go.
Well, maybe we can flesh out those a little bit. I know we've had a caller talk about tort reform and the fact that his concern was that it would impact people's right to a trial and some of their rights. And what are your thoughts on the impact that when you limit, because tort reform really talks about limiting the payout.
Correct.
Where do you think that would impact or be burdensome on the flip side?
I don't think it would create any kind of burdensome on the flip side. I think that what you'd be looking at is the people who file lawsuits that have no merit would no longer file those lawsuits. It would change the whole system. Whereas I talked to a lawyer the other day who was sued, lost about $12,000 on the case, and everyone before was telling the plaintiff that he had no case whatsoever. But they went through with it and just drug out time and drug out money, frankly. And we need to fix that system where that's not allowed, to make a lawsuit that has no merit.
When you talk about right to work, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's some of the statistics that companies, when they're looking to expand or move, they right to work. If it's not a right to work state, they don't even look at the state, regardless of all the other positive things. And Missouri's got a bunch of positive things going for us.
Absolutely, right to work isn't necessarily the fix that's going to bring all the jobs, but it's going to let companies at least look at Missouri. We're not even getting looked at right now for a lot of plants opening up and a lot of companies to come in. So the second that we pass right to work, it puts us right there on even playing field with the states around us, where companies can come in now.
What are your thoughts on, because we've had many candidates on, They've talked about minimum wage. We've talked about, I think we've even talked about loser pay when it comes to tort reform ideas, and that's kind of, I guess, kind of the vein that you were talking about
Right.
earlier.
Loser pay tort reform, I think, is important because it will help stop a lot of those lawsuits.
Right, and one of the things when we talk about medical reform is there is no cap on damages. So actual damages, there is no cap, my understanding. But what it does, it cap is punitive damages. It's kind of like the lady, and I know this is one that gets thrown out a lot. Remember the old McDonald's coffee spill?
Yes, I do very well. I worked at McDonald's in high school. I know that story all too well.
They talked about that in training,
They did a little bit, yes, absolutely.
So it's a multi-million-dollar suit, and you know, of course, you should get damages. Obviously, I think there's no one doesn't agree that if someone's harmed, they shouldn't get the damages. But it shouldn't necessarily maybe be a lottery ticket either.
Correct, yeah. A multi-million-dollar lawsuit for a spilt cup of coffee on your lap is a little excessive, I would say.
Any other issues? You talked about economic and jobs. Any other issues that you see out there on the horizon that Missouri struggles with?
Not necessarily struggles with veterans and veterans affairs. I think Missouri's on a good path on veterans affairs, but I don't think there's ever enough that we can do to repay that debt. I'd like to see Missouri step out and be one of the best states in the union as far as veterans, that we could be a #1 state, that veterans not only want to come live in Missouri because of how we treat them, but they need to because of how we treat them. We need to work on our healthcare and VA system, and at one point in time, Missouri might just need to step in and tell the federal government this is how it's going to go, and send them a bill if we need to.
Well, there's been a lot of issues with the Veterans Administration with care, and some of it's just abysmal, some of the items that they've done. So we've got tort reform, we've got rights of work, regulations. When you talk about regulations, can you define that again? How do you see regulation reform in Missouri working?
There's so many codes that just small businesses are having to adhere by that necessarily probably don't affect the business and don't affect really anything else, but because a government official at one point in time had a good idea and they thought maybe this would work for everyone, that they pushed that down among all the businesses, and it really just has an adverse effect on them and they have to spend more money to do things that they probably shouldn't even have to do.
One of the big things we've noticed in banking is, and of course this is from the federal government, is the Dodd-Frank has really impacted community banks, and the volume of regulation has caused consolidation in the industry, and we've lost a lot of community banks. And is there anything that you have noticed or talked about that specific regulation that you can think of now, or it's just seems like the overwhelming burdensome, the volume that...
I think it's a major volume, and not all of it. Some of it comes from the federal government. I feel like some of it also still comes from the state government. Mm-hmm. But Missouri as a state, we do need to be able to stand up towards the federal government and tell them that enough is enough. The EPA is obviously overreaching so many different places with waterways and creeks that maybe we just need to tell the federal government to get out of here, and we'll take care of our own state.
And some people would advocate that that is a role of the states, and that when the federal government overreaches, that part of the problem is the local entity or state, they don't stand their ground. And I know Springfield has gotten a opportunity to work with the EPA and to some good outcomes. But on the same token, when you look at money being spent on environment, there's sometimes you get to a point where you can spend 10 times the amount for not even 10% of the increase. And so, what do you think? Do you think, as a representative, you could say no to the federal government because oftentimes they bribe you? Say, we'll give you this pot of money if you do X, Y, Z.
Absolutely. I think right now we need strong leaders and we need strong voices in Jefferson City. Through my 10 years in the Army, I've learned to be a strong leader. As a non-commissioned officer there, we're the backbone of the Army. We definitely know how to stand up for the little man when we have to. I definitely would love to be able to stand up for the state and be the strong voice and strong leader that the 132nd needs. We've
got about a couple minutes left. Any words you would like to tell folks? Also let us know where people could go to get information on your campaign.
Absolutely. I just want to thank the voters of the 132nd. I've been out there every night talking to people, and the reception's just been great, very positive. I look forward to meeting with everybody within the district and discussing issues and just talking about how we can change Springfield and change the state of Missouri and get us back on track. We do have a website at Hobbs for 132. That's FOR 132. .com. You can also reach us by email at hobbs4132@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, on Twitter, all for the same, Hobbs for 132.
Very good. And again, we're talking with Tyler Hobbs, and he is running for the 132nd District. And you have, this race has got 2 Republicans. You're one of another. There's 2 Democrats. So not only do you have a primary, you have a general if you get the...
Correct. And this is a seat that they usually hold. But we're taking it back, and I think the district is ready for that.
Okay, well, we'll see. Charlie Knorr has held the seat for 8 years with a break in between with, I think it was Melissa Leach.
Correct, in 2010.
Had it for 2 years, and so very interesting race. I think this is going to be an interesting one to watch to see how it comes down. Wish you well in your campaign, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
You're very welcome. And again, we're talking with Tyler Hobbs, candidate for the 132nd on the Republican ticket. And folks, we will be right back after these messages.